Ethan Clarke stepped out of the small shuttle and onto the dusty surface of Zoreth. The sky was a deep green, and twin suns burned brightly above, casting long shadows across the jagged rocks of the landing zone. He paused for a moment, letting his eyes adjust. This planet was far from Earth, far from everything familiar. But he felt no fear, only focus. He had been sent alone, without a large military force, to meet the leaders of the Zorathian clans. The humans wanted peace, but Ethan knew the aliens were proud, dangerous, and often cruel. Most of them believed humans were weak. Stories told among traders described Earth soldiers as tiny, fragile creatures, barely able to lift weapons, and often defeated before a fight began. Ethan, however, did not let their stories bother him. He had trained for years, faced enemies in harsh conditions, and survived situations no human had ever faced before. As he walked toward the palace, a group of Zorathian guards stepped in his path. They were tall, with elongated limbs and green skin that shimmered in the sun. Their eyes were yellow and sharp, scanning him as if he were a small insect to squash. "State your purpose, human," one of the guards said in a harsh, clicking voice. "I am here to negotiate peace," Ethan said calmly. "I am here to speak to Princess Liara and her mother, Queen Aralis." The guards glanced at each other, their clicks louder now. One of them stepped forward and blocked the doorway, bending his massive arm like a barrier. Ethan did not move back. Instead, he met the guard's gaze, steady and unwavering. "You do not belong here," the guard said. "Humans are small and weak. You cannot command respect on Zoreth." "I am not here to command respect," Ethan replied. "I am here to earn it." The guard hesitated. Few humans ever spoke with such confidence. Ethan's calm tone, combined with his steady stance, made the guard pause. Slowly, the way was cleared, and Ethan walked into the palace. The interior of the palace was unlike anything Ethan had ever seen. The walls shimmered like liquid metal, reflecting light from strange crystals embedded in the floors and ceilings. The air was warm, and the faint hum of energy filled the space. He walked down long corridors, following the sound of voices. At the center of the palace, in a grand hall, stood Princess Liara. She was taller than a human but smaller than most Zorathians. Her hair shone like silver in the light, and her eyes were bright violet. She watched Ethan as he entered, her lips curling into a mocking smile. "Well, look at this," she said, her voice smooth but sharp. "A human soldier, alone, walking into my palace as if he owns it. Do you really think you belong here?" Ethan stopped a few meters away from her. He did not bow. He did not make a grand gesture. He simply looked her in the eyes and said, "I am here because I must be. I come in peace, and I come ready to talk." Liara laughed, a sound that echoed across the hall. "Talk? You? You are tiny, frail, and nothing but a story my mother tells to scare children. How can you, a human, face the leaders of Zorath and not tremble?" Ethan smiled faintly. "I do not tremble because I have learned to stand when it matters. My species has faced countless challenges and survived. Perhaps you have heard stories, but I am here to show the truth." The princess tilted her head, intrigued but unwilling to show it. "Show the truth? Then you will prove yourself before the court. Survive a test designed to humiliate a human. If you fail, you leave Zorath in shame." Ethan nodded. "I accept." Liara clapped her hands once, sharply. At that, several Zorathian guards carried forward strange devices, machines Ethan had never seen before. One resembled a treadmill, but it floated in midair and emitted streams of glowing energy. Another looked like a cage, filled with shifting patterns of light that could trap a person instantly. "These are your trials," Liara said. "If you survive them, perhaps I will consider that humans are not entirely useless. If you fail," she let the threat hang in the air. Ethan did not flinch. "I will do my best. That is all I can promise." The first trial was a test of endurance. Ethan had to cross a narrow path suspended over a pit filled with moving energy spikes. The path shifted and bent, and if he misstepped, he would fall into the glowing pit below. The Zorathians whispered among themselves, convinced he would fail immediately. Ethan stepped onto the path. His feet adjusted quickly to the strange surface. He leaned slightly to balance himself, moving carefully but steadily. When the first spike shot up from below, he ducked and rolled, keeping his balance. The aliens gasped as he continued, unafraid. One by one, he avoided each danger. When he finally reached the other side, the court fell silent. Liara scowled. "Luck," she said. Ethan shook his head. "It is not luck, it is focus and training." The second trial tested his ability to fight. He was placed in a chamber with several Zorathian guards who attacked him simultaneously. Ethan dodged, blocked, and countered with precision. He did not strike to kill, only to disable. Each move was calculated, conserving energy while demonstrating skill. Within moments, the guards stepped back, stunned by his speed and accuracy. Liara's lips pressed together. She did not laugh this time. Ethan's movements were quick, yet calm, each one purposeful. He was small, yes, but he was a storm contained in a single human body. The third trial tested intelligence. Ethan was given a map of the palace and asked to find a hidden energy source used by the Zorathians to power weapons. Many in the court thought he would never succeed. Humans were said to be slow, unable to match alien minds. Ethan studied the map carefully. He noticed small symbols, patterns in the crystals on the walls, and subtle markings on the floors. Using observation and deduction, he navigated the palace quietly, avoiding traps, and found the source in a room behind the throne. He deactivated it safely, ensuring no one was harmed. The court murmured. Even the guards who had tried to stop him looked impressed. Liara's eyes widened slightly. She had never seen a human do something so clever and precise. "Perhaps humans are not as weak as I thought," she said under her breath. Ethan returned to the main hall. He did not boast. He did not smile arrogantly. He simply stood and waited. Liara's mother, Queen Aralis, entered at that moment. She was taller than Liara, her presence commanding, her eyes sharp. "Your trials are not yet over," Aralis said, her voice strong. "But this human shows courage. I will watch closely." Liara scowled. She did not like that her mother seemed impressed. She had intended to humiliate Ethan completely. But instead, he had survived, and even earned quiet respect. She clenched her fists, but hid it, unwilling to show weakness before her court. Ethan bowed slightly, not as a sign of submission, but as a gesture of respect. It was a human way of acknowledging another's authority without fear. The Zorathians were unfamiliar with such gestures, and some tilted their heads, confused. "You still have much to prove," Liara said, trying to regain her sharpness. "But I see that, perhaps humans are not complete fools." Ethan simply nodded. "I will continue to prove myself. I do not ask for your belief, only for the chance to show it." The day ended with Ethan being allowed to rest in a small chamber in the palace. He cleaned his equipment and prepared for the next trial. Outside, Liara walked alone in the gardens, her mind restless. She could not understand why a human, so small, could be so calm, so precise, and so brave. A part of her wanted to dismiss it, but another part, smaller, quieter, could not ignore it. She glanced up at the stars, their twin suns setting in brilliant shades of orange and purple. Maybe humans were more than the myths merchants told. Maybe, just maybe, Ethan Clarke was different, and on that thought, a seed of doubt and admiration was planted in Liara's mind. The next morning, Ethan awoke to the hum of the palace around him. Sunlight filtered through the tall windows, painting green and gold patterns on the floor. He stretched, checked his equipment, and prepared for the next challenge. Today, he would face trials designed to test his mind and strength together. Liara had warned him that the tasks would be dangerous. When he entered the grand hall, Liara was already there, standing with her arms crossed. Her expression was cool, but there was a flicker of curiosity in her violet eyes. She waved a hand, and the doors at the far end of the hall opened. Beyond them lay a vast arena, filled with strange machines, shifting platforms, and strange creatures that moved like shadows. "Your next challenge," Liara said, her voice sharp, "is to cross the arena, survive the dangers within, and retrieve the orb of Zoreth from the center. Few aliens have ever succeeded. Humans? I doubt you will last a minute." Ethan nodded, studying the arena. The platforms moved unpredictably, shifting sideways, tilting, and rising or falling suddenly. Strange energy creatures floated above the floor, emitting bright light and attacking anything that approached. The orb sat on a pedestal at the center. Glowing softly, he took a deep breath. Humans were not the strongest in the galaxy. He could not match the size or speed of most Zorathians, but he had something they often underestimated: his mind. He moved carefully at first, feeling the platform under his boots shift and tilt. When a shadow creature darted toward him, he rolled to the side, barely avoiding its energy strike. Liara watched, frowning. Most of her court had expected him to fail immediately. The creature lunged again, and Ethan used a device on his belt to create a temporary energy shield. Blocking the strike, he had learned quickly to adapt, to use every small tool at his disposal. The arena was not just about speed or strength, it was about observation, strategy, and patience. Ethan noticed patterns in the platform movements, the timing of the energy creatures, and the way the light shifted across the floor. Using all of this, he advanced slowly, avoiding hazards and moving with careful precision. At one point, a platform tipped sharply, sending him sliding toward the edge. The air was thin here, and the drop would have been fatal. Ethan's hands found grips on a small edge, and with a quick pull, he swung himself back onto solid ground. The crowd gasped. Liara's lips pressed together. She had never expected such skill from a human. Midway across the arena, several Zorathian guards emerged. They were faster and stronger than Ethan, and Liara had sent them to test him further. They attacked in coordinated strikes, trying to force him off the platforms. Ethan did not panic. He ducked, rolled, and used their weight against them, sidestepping so that they stumbled instead of him. When one of the guards lunged, he grabbed a nearby pole and vaulted over him, landing lightly on the next platform. "Clever," Liara muttered. She did not clap, did not smile, but her eyes betrayed a grudging respect. As Ethan approached the orb of Zoreth, the final challenge revealed itself. A large energy creature, bigger than anything he had faced, descended from above. Its form shimmered and shifted, with long tendrils that crackled with power. It moved quickly, attacking anything near the orb. Ethan paused. He could not fight it directly. It was too large, too powerful. Instead, he watched its movements, noticing that it paused briefly after each strike. Using the environment, he baited the creature into hitting a platform that tilted sharply, causing it to stumble. The orb sat there, unguarded for a brief moment, and Ethan dashed forward. He grabbed it and jumped back to the platform, narrowly avoiding the creature's last strike. The crowd erupted in whispers. Even some of Liara's guards stepped back, impressed. Liara herself stared, unable to hide her surprise. "You survived," she said, trying to sound indifferent. "I cannot deny it. You are more capable than I imagined." Ethan held the orb carefully. "I do not want to impress you. I only want to show that humans can endure, think, and act, even when others doubt us." Liara's violet eyes narrowed. She did not understand why he did not boast, why he did not scream in victory. Instead, he stood quietly, strong, and calm. It was unlike any human she had imagined. After the arena, Ethan was escorted to another chamber. Queen Aralis entered, her presence filling the room. She regarded him carefully, her expression unreadable. "You have done well," she said. "But courage and skill are not enough. To truly earn respect on Zorath, one must understand diplomacy, strategy, and the value of life. You will face your next test in the council chambers." The council chambers were enormous. Dozens of alien leaders from different clans were seated in high chairs around a circular platform. Each of them eyed Ethan with suspicion. He could feel their doubt, their disbelief that a human could be capable of anything meaningful. Liara's voice echoed through the chamber. "Human soldier, negotiate a truce between these clans. Convince them to agree without force or bloodshed. If you fail, you will leave in disgrace." "I will." Ethan looked at each leader carefully. He did not rush. He listened to their words, paying attention to their fears and desires. One clan wanted more resources from the mines. Another wanted control of the trade routes. They all feared the others, ready to go to war at the slightest provocation. Instead of reacting hastily, Ethan spoke slowly and clearly. He proposed a compromise, giving each clan something they wanted, while ensuring none would dominate the others unfairly. He suggested sharing resources in a way that increased trade, not conflict, and proposed patrols led by neutral parties to prevent misunderstandings. The council murmured. Alien leaders whispered among themselves, impressed despite their pride. Ethan had not threatened anyone, had not used force. He had simply thought carefully, listened, and proposed solutions that were fair. Liara's scowl deepened. She had believed humans to be weak, incapable of strategy or leadership, and yet, here was a human, convincing hardened Zorathians to consider cooperation. It was impossible, or at least she had believed it was. Queen Aralis leaned forward. "You have done more than survive. You have shown wisdom and patience. These are qualities often overlooked in warriors, yet they define true strength. Remember that." Liara's eyes narrowed. She wanted to argue, to say that humans were still small, insignificant creatures. But she could not deny what she had seen. Ethan had achieved something she herself struggled to do. Unite leaders who had been enemies for decades. The test over, Ethan was escorted back to his quarters. His mind was calm, but he knew the trials would only get harder. Liara's final test would challenge everything he had: strength, skill, and diplomacy combined, but he felt ready. He had proven something important, that humans could adapt, endure, and overcome, even in worlds far beyond Earth. That evening, Liara walked alone along the palace terraces. The twin suns had set, and the sky glowed with a soft green light. She stared at the stars, thinking about the human soldier who had faced her trials with calm, clever action. She hated to admit it, but admiration crept into her heart. He was unlike any human she had imagined, brave, intelligent, and disciplined. She remembered how she had mocked him when he arrived, certain he would fail. Now, she could not dismiss him so easily. Something had changed in her mind. Ethan Clarke had done what no human story had ever shown. He had survived, he had won respect, and he had proven that humans were capable of greatness. Liara turned away from the stars and walked back inside. She did not know what would happen next. But one thing was certain. This human soldier was not ordinary. He was something more. Something dangerous to her pride, yet impossible to ignore. And somewhere deep inside, a small seed of respect began to grow. The next morning, Ethan awoke to the hum of the palace. Light spilled through the tall windows, painting the walls with soft green reflections. Today would be the most important trial yet. The previous challenges had tested his strength, skill, and mind. But this test would combine all three. It would challenge his courage, his intelligence, and his ability to act under pressure. When Ethan entered the grand hall, Princess Liara was waiting. Her violet eyes studied him carefully. Her arms folded across her chest. She looked calm, but there was tension in her posture. Her mother, Queen Aralis, stood beside her, silent and observing. You have survived every trial so far, Liara said, her voice smooth but sharp. But the final challenge is not just about skill. It is about leadership, judgment, and honor. You will face the Council of Clans once more, but this time, they will not listen kindly. They will test you, question you, even attempt to provoke you, convince them to accept peace without raising a weapon, and you will have proven yourself. Ethan nodded. He understood. The previous council had been cautious. These leaders would be harder, more suspicious. They would look for weakness, hoping to find flaws in a human. He had to be ready for everything. The council chamber was vast, filled with leaders from every major clan. Their eyes followed Ethan as he entered. Whispers rippled through the room. Some leaned forward, curious. Others scoffed, muttering that a human could not possibly succeed. Ethan ignored the murmurs. He had faced doubt before, and humans had always overcome it through determination and action. Liara stepped aside, and Ethan approached the center of the chamber. He could see the tension in the alien leaders' faces. They were proud and stubborn, each convinced of their own superiority. The room was filled with energy, some from their bodies, some from the faint hum of the chamber itself. The air felt thick, heavy with suspicion. Ethan began calmly. I understand that you have fought for years, and that trust is difficult to earn. But your clans are stronger when you work together, not against each other. War weakens you, while cooperation strengthens all of you. The leaders began to speak, one after another. Each spoke in their own language, some fast and sharp, others slow and deliberate. Ethan listened carefully, understanding enough of their words from the training he had received. One clan demanded complete control over the mines. Another insisted that the trade routes be theirs alone. Others threatened war if their needs were not met immediately. Ethan did not interrupt. He took notes in his mind, organizing the information carefully. Then he began to propose solutions, speaking slowly and clearly. The mines can be shared, he said. Each clan receives an equal portion based on its population and need. The trade routes can be managed cooperatively, with patrols and rules to prevent conflicts. All clans benefit when rules are fair, and no one gains unfair advantage. Some leaders whispered to each other. A few shook their heads, skeptical. Ethan continued, I do not ask for blind trust. I only ask that you consider what will benefit everyone. If we work together, you can expand your trade, protect your people, and prevent war. The alternative is weakness and loss. Liara watched, her arms crossed tightly. She wanted to interrupt, to point out flaws, but Ethan was calm, composed, and logical. His words were simple, yet powerful. He did not shout. He did not threaten. He did not boast. He listened, understood, and offered solutions that made sense to everyone. One of the oldest leaders, a tall figure with blue-scaled skin and sharp eyes, spoke next. And why should we listen to a human? Your people are weak. Your species is small. You have no experience here. Ethan looked directly at him. I may be small, and my species may not be known to you. But courage, intelligence, and honor are not measured by size. I have survived your trials, faced dangers that others feared, and I have proposed solutions that benefit all. Judge me by my actions, not by my appearance. The room went quiet. Whispers of approval and surprise traveled among the council members. Some of them could not deny that Ethan had already proven himself, not through threats, but through skill and thought. A younger leader, impatient and sharp-tongued, shouted, What if your solutions fail? What if the clans fight anyway? Ethan did not hesitate. Then we adjust. We learn. We act with honor and intelligence. Humans have faced countless wars and challenges. We adapt and survive. We do not give up when things are difficult. And neither should you. Liara's scowl deepened. She hated to admit it, but the words were true. Humans had faced countless dangers and survived. She had thought that all humans were small and weak, but Ethan Clark was living proof of their resilience. One by one, the council members began to speak again. This time less harshly. Ethan listened carefully and adapted his proposals, finding compromises that satisfied even the most stubborn leaders. He suggested rotations of trade patrols, sharing mining technology, and establishing a council of representatives from each clan to oversee disputes. The negotiations lasted for hours. Ethan remained calm, polite, and respectful. Even when leaders tried to provoke him, he did not raise his voice. He did not threaten. He simply listened, reasoned, and proposed fair solutions. By the end of the session, the council had agreed to tentative terms. No weapons had been raised, no blood had been spilled, yet progress had been made. Liara's lips pressed together. She had expected failure, mockery, and humiliation. But Ethan had achieved something she could not. He had united leaders who had been enemies for decades, not through fear or force, but through calm thought and courage. Queen Aralis spoke then, her voice echoing through the chamber. You have shown courage, skill, and intelligence. You have proven that humans can accomplish what many aliens cannot. This is a remarkable achievement. The council members murmured in agreement, some bowing slightly in respect to Ethan. He did not smile arrogantly. He had done what he needed to do. His focus remained steady, his mind already preparing for whatever challenge came next. After the council session, Ethan returned to his quarters. He was tired, but satisfied. The trials had tested everything he had learned, and he had emerged stronger. Yet he knew the hardest part was still ahead. Princess Liara herself. She had challenged him from the start, mocking him and testing his limits. He wondered how she would react to his success. That evening, Liara walked alone through the palace gardens. The twin suns had set, leaving the sky a deep green, dotted with stars. She thought about the human soldier who had faced every trial with calm skill and intelligence. She hated to admit it, but admiration had begun to grow in her heart. She remembered how she had mocked him, certain he would fail. Now, she could not deny the truth. Ethan Clark had faced her arena, her guards, her council, and had succeeded where many had failed. He had shown strength, courage, and intelligence beyond what she imagined any human could possess. Liara's thoughts were interrupted by a quiet voice behind her. You think too much, Queen Aralis said, stepping into the moonlight. Her eyes were kind but firm. You underestimate humans because you fear what you do not understand. Courage, honor, and intelligence are not measured by size or species. They are measured by action, by choice, by strength of character. This human has shown all of them. Liara did not reply. She wanted to argue, to insist that humans were still weak, but she could not. Her mother was right. Ethan had proven himself. He had earned respect, not through threats, not through intimidation, but through courage, intelligence, and honor. As she watched the stars above, Liara felt something new. Respect. A small, quiet admiration for the human who had faced her world and refused to bow to fear or doubt. In his quarters, Ethan prepared for the final trial. He cleaned his equipment, checked his weapons, and reviewed everything he had learned. The challenges so far had tested his strength, his mind, and his courage. The final test would combine all three, but he felt ready. He had proven that humans could survive, adapt, and succeed even in a world far from their own. And somewhere in the palace, Liara prepared as well, not for a battle, but for a realization. She had ridiculed this human soldier from the start, certain he would fail. But now, after witnessing his skill, intelligence, and courage, she could not ignore the truth. Ethan Clark was no ordinary human. He was something more, something dangerous to her pride, yet impossible to dismiss. The seeds of admiration, respect, and perhaps something deeper, had taken root. Tomorrow would bring the final challenge, a confrontation that would test all that Ethan had learned and all that Liara believed. But for tonight, Both of them understood one simple truth. Humans were not as weak as the galaxy had assumed. Ethan lay down that night with calm determination. He did not know exactly what the next day would bring, but he knew one thing clearly. He would face it, as he had faced everything before, with courage, intelligence, and honor. And perhaps, in the process, he would change the way Zorathians saw humans forever.